I just heard my best friend fighting and the phone went dead and I was screaming, hello, hello, hello. I got nothing from that. And then it went dead. So at this point, I don't know. I don't know if this what I'm supposed to feel other than something might.
What's good, guys? Welcome back to the Milk Carton series. I'm your host, Stephanie. If you are new tuning in, welcome, and welcome to 2021. I hope your year is starting off amazing. I know 2020 was very rough for a lot of us, and I pray that this year we can truly turn that C word around and we can truly get life back to normal or get some type of normalcy as much as possible. I have really big plans for this year. I don't have a lot of expectations because, as we can see, 2020 went completely left field, but it did teach me to live a little bit more, not always be a planner because I'm a planner by nature. So it has taught me to really just go with the flow and not let my anxiety kick in because that's just who I am. So I have a story that I really wanted to share on here. I actually just seen this story recently as I was like decompressing. I love the ID channel. And this story was just a story because it's a very familiar story that can happen to any one of us. It can happen to our children. And I remember a case very similar happened here in Maryland about a roommate living on campus. But this one happened in Tennessee. And it just truly reminded me of it truly just made me want to share this story because I feel like we as human beings, we rush to want to fight. And I feel like that's what the world has become now. Like, we don't know how to just walk away. We don't know how to remove ourselves from environments that no longer fit or suit us. And as I was watching this story, I got kind of irritated because I didn't like how they was painting the one girl in this story. Like, as we'll go and touch on the story, I just didn't like how basically the person who committed the crime, her friends were on there. Not saying that what she went through isn't a cause for what led to the situation, but no one deserves to die. No one deserves to have their hands put on them. No one deserves to die. And I just didn't like that. So I just felt like I wanted to share Tina, aka Tina Stewart story. So Tina was 21 years of age. She was a basketball athlete star. And what's super sad is that Shanterica is her roommate. She was an 18-year-old and they came from the same area. They went to the same high school, but I do not believe they had any contact in that relation. I mean, we all go to high school and we all, don't normally associate with people. It's just natural. And this story really made me say, wow, because like I said previously, it can happen to any one of us. We go to high school with someone and we end up going to the same college. We come from the same tracks of life. One is a super nerd. One is more on the athlete side. But they all have that one main goal. They're going to college, being the first in their family in the Black community to go to college. And that was me and my family. First go to college, first to get this degree, first to get a post, degree. And it's truly something that makes your family proud. Like, my dad did not even graduate high school. So it's just something that, in our community, it's something that a lot of our family members do not achieve. So going off to college is such an amazing thing. And people in other cultures, they may not believe in that, but in the Black community, it is something really big to be the first in your family to go to college. Because like I said previously, a lot of our family members, like aunts and uncles and cousins, older cousins, don't go to college. That's just, it wasn't their thing, or they didn't have money. So both of these girls got scholarships. They were going there and truly trying to achieve their dreams. So Shanterica and Tina basically were roommates, and Tina, she was more of a junior. She was a junior guard in basketball, and Shanterica was actually a freshman, and they were in an off-campus apartment, and they actually got joined together. And as I was watching one show, and I'm not sure how 100% true this is. They basically said that I guess they were matched up because of their background. They came from the same hometown, and they pretty much, you know, had big dreams. And they both had big dreams at the Middle Tennessee State University. Things began to be what it normally is when you have a roommate. I never had a roommate except for my husband, so I don't know. And I always felt like I never wanted to room with a female. I think that's kind of why I never stayed on campus when I was in college. Furthermore, I couldn't afford it anyway. But nonetheless, I never really wanted to roommate with a female because I always felt like my personality is strong and I just like things a certain way, and that's how Tina was. Tina was a person who liked things neat, clean, and Shanterica was more, you know, carefree. Like, you know, she cleaned her dishes when she could. You know, she would try to use Tina's stuff, and that's pretty much typical, I feel like, when you're living with anyone. But again, you butt heads when you don't like one person who lives a different way, and that was always my take. Like, I never wanted to live with anyone because of those reasons. So their relationship, like I said, started off really great, but then things began to get very rocky in the relationship. They both were two different individuals. Again, you have one who was, you know, I'm here because I have my love of basketball, you know, I'm trying to get my degree. And then you have another one who wants to be an attorney and, you know, more of a book nerd, you know, really focused in her work because that's all she truly knew was, you know, book. I understand that. So they kind of weren't on the same level because Tina was more so, you know, in a higher stance in college versus a freshman. So the maturity level is very different when you enter college. As you're a newbie, you're not really sure of how things are going, so you're very excited, you're very anxious to get a head start. But then, you know, as you later go on to college, you're like, oh, it's easy peasy. You don't even have to like stress out about that. Well, things begin to take a turn on March 2nd of 2011. This was when their relationship went from they really weren't rocking with each other to full-blown out fighting. Like, no, their relationship would be like, okay, they was getting on each other's nerves, but you know, it wasn't a sense where it escalated to a physical fight. And on this night, this was where things just truly escalated, in my opinion. Like, I feel like neither one could take it anymore because and then Tina, her boyfriend would always come over. Guys know how it is when you have a boyfriend in college, you know, you come over, hang out. So Shanterica really didn't care for that. She hated the fact that he would always come over. So on this day, you know, Shanterica basically decided she was going to smoke weed again. And if you guys know, when you're on a scholarship like Tina, you really cannot consume any marijuana, anything in your system, or you will lose your scholarship pretty much. So Tina was pretty much fuming because this wasn't the first time that she had smoking weed, and pretty much she had enough. Like I said, their relationship with each other, and I'm probably leaving out some things because like I didn't feel the need to like run down everything, but they basically just, it's like typical girl stuff. Like, you do this, why is this here, why are you touching my stuff? Pretty much those things that you have when you have a roommate. And that was kind of why their relationship fumed, and it never got to be mature. It never got to mature into something else because, again, you have two people, two very different human beings, and sometimes it just doesn't work out, regardless if you come from the same community or not. At the end of the day, you're both two different human beings. So Shanterica got to the apartment and she thought no one was there, and she went with her friend Renee, and so they decided to smoke weed. But come to find out, Tina actually was home and she smelled the weed, and this is when she decided to call the local police. And it had been stated previously that Shanterica had filed a complaint with the management because her boyfriend was over the house, you know, periodically, and, you know, she didn't really like it. And then basically, like I said, things began to fume. They got sick of each other. You know, Shanterica got tired of Tina telling her what to do, and it had been reported that I guess she was living like in a kind of like you have like in a military style, but again, you have two different human beings who live two different ways. You know, one person is a little bit more clean, and then you have another person who isn't as clean. They're a little bit messy. So again, a lot of people butt heads when it comes to this, and that's why their relationship never got to be anything more than just roommates because of that. And from my knowledge, this was basically like a courtesy notion. So like the officer was, they had like this thing situated where if something happens, they can call like this line and an off-duty officer would come. So the off-duty officer comes, he's banging on the door, and that's when Shanterica and the friend, they're like panicking because you smoke weed. And so Tina goes to the doors, you know, she basically says, yeah, she's in there smoking weed, and she's basically not trying to get cut from the team because you can get cut from the team if you do have a drug problem or, you know, smoking marijuana. And so like the police officer, he kind of like brushed it off. Because you think about it, you have two black girls in college, and you're like, this can ruin your college career. Like it really could. So he was just basically like, get rid of it. Don't smoke no weed no more, pretty much. And so this made Shanterica very upset. And so she went to approach Tina, and this is where like things went far left. So they begin to have choice words, and this is where a fight breaks out. And from what I have read, I believe that Tina was kind of getting the best of her because she was saying something about her head. And from what they say, like, this is where I'm confused in the story, because they say that Tina had a knife in her room. And so Shanterica went, and I guess as they were fighting, got the knife, and that's when she stabbed Tina. And it doesn't really say how many times, but she basically stabbed her, and she was pretty much clinging to life. But this is where Shanterica, I feel like, because she wanted to plead self-defense, this is where this was no longer a self-defense for her, because the simple fact, it was like after, you know, Tina is clinging to life, she's stabbed. You know, Renee asks her, like, you know, everything okay? She's like, yeah, everything's okay, blah, blah, blah. So Renee leaves. And my thinking, I'm just like, so you just seen two roommates who you knew didn't like each other. They had beef, ongoing hot flaming beef. And regardless if Shanterica is my friend, and I see you bitches in there fighting, I'm going to make sure the other person is okay. So when I found that out, I was like, okay. But anyways, you know, and then as I was watching the story, I was just like, so you didn't check on her? Like, you see them in there like throwing blows, like boom, boom, boom. You didn't check on her to make sure homegirl was okay? Like, it goes completely silence. Nah, I'm going to go check, because whether that's my friend or not, I want to make sure, you know, everything is okay. You know, I guess that's just me. But anywho, so pretty much she leaves. Shanterica decides she had put the knife into like this blanket or whatever. So this is where she takes this L turn for her own defense. She basically goes and she puts the blanket and the knife in a bag, throws it in a dumpster. So Tina's boyfriend is texting her, you know, calling Tina's phone, no answer. And then in the interview that I've seen, you know, he was basically saying, like, when he was calling, you know how you're calling somebody and it goes like, it rings a little bit, but someone's like really hanging up on you, they're not answering the phone. So in his gut, he knew something was off. So then he gets a text message like, I'm about to get in the shower. And then 20 minutes later, it says, I'm out the shower now. So he knew something was off because of, I guess, the language in the text message. That's not necessarily how Tina would text. So he went to the apartment. And he gets to the apartment, he sees Shanterica, she's looking crazy as hell. And, you know, he's like, where's Tina at? And she's pretty much like, she's not here. He's like, where's she at? But pretty much where's she at? You know, like your heart's jumping at this point, because you're like, where the fuck is my girl at? Like, where the fuck is he at? Because that's how I would be thinking. Where the fuck is my man at? Like, where the fuck is my man? And so he, you know, bum rushes her goes into Tina's room, sees Tina on the floor, clean, basically still alive. Like, and that's what pissed me off. Regardless of how I feel about somebody, like if we had this ongoing feud and we decide, you know, to go blows to blows, and you know, like, and you're saying this is self-defense, at the end of it, I'm gonna make sure she's okay. I'm gonna call 911 because I didn't mean to stab her. Like, yeah, we had some vendetta with each other. Like, we didn't like each other. I didn't care for her. But at the end of the day, that was my roommate, and I wouldn't want to see her die. And so that's what really, as I was watching the story in the case, I was just like, maybe she panicked. I don't know, but it was like you developed this ploy, this plot after Tina was stabbed. It was like you had it all, in my mind, you had it all along. You wanted to kill this girl because you were just waiting for the right opportunity for things to go down. And that may not be the truth, but it just, I'm guessing, like, in me, if I know for a fact I did not mean to do this, and I'm claiming self-defense because you're whipping my ass and then there's a knife available for you to get off of me, I'm going to still call the police. I'm still going to call the police because I don't want nobody to die at the hands of me, regardless of what it is. And some may say, well, she was beating her up or whatever. No one deserves to die. No one deserves that shit. Regardless, at the end of the day, you guys were roommates. You should have moved the hell out. Moved out. I would have moved out. Once he, you know, called 911, he went after Shanterica and, you know, angry. And this is when, you know, the police came, and she was hiding basically behind the cars in the apartment complex, and she gave herself up. And as the story goes still, it's like she basically told police officers that she never stabbed Tina. You know, she basically tried to blame it on like a black man basically stabbed Tina, but that wasn't the case at all. She changed her story and said she did stab Tina, but it was on accident. She was fighting in self-defense because they had gotten to an altercation. So the coroner basically said that the stab wound punctured like the right side of her heart, and it stabbed in the aorta. And so that basically caused a lot of blood to fill her lungs, and that's, you know, pretty much how Tina died. She basically died right before she could get to the hospital. And that's why I say, like, if she would have acted a little bit sooner, if she claims, you know, it was an accident, maybe Tina would have survived. I don't know, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, I guess I try to look at it in a different light. Like, I don't want no one to die regardless of what may have happened, because at the end of the day, then now your life is ruined. What justice does that do, killing someone? And now everything that you worked so hard for is down the drain. So she did go to trial, and then originally she tried to get the judge off the case because he had connections to the college and the athletic department, but the motion was denied. And they did say that it would surface again in an appeal that she tried to file. And so, you know, she files self-defense, basically that Tina kept hitting her head, she was in pain, she was hurting, and that basically Tina wasn't listening to her, and she said that she was scared for her life, and that's kind of why, you know, she grabbed the knife to get Tina. She was found guilty for second-degree murder and tampering of evidence. She was sentenced to 29 years. So I want to read a part in her confession that just has me confused as hell. So she says, Nana was gone by then. I guess she's referring to the girl Renee. The middle of our fighting, I went and checked on Tina, and I saw she was not moving, so I got nervous and went outside and called one of my other friends. Then my mother, I hung up with my mother and went to see, was Tina moving, but she was not. So I was trying to see which police should I call. I went into the kitchen, and her boyfriend came to the door. He went to the door, and I told him she was gone because I did not want him to see her like that. He headed back towards the front door, then turned around to go in her room. I was behind him heading to my room because I could not find the campus police number. Then I looked through the door of her room because I heard him scream, and he got up and came towards me, and I hurried and ran out the door. I kept running because he was yelling loud at me like he wanted to hurt me. I hid behind a car and waited till he walked past, and I got up and started running, and I stopped running because I heard the police calling me. Ma'am, you should have called the police. It don't matter what fucking police you should have called. You should have called the police to begin with. Once you seen that Tina wasn't even, she was, blood was floating every damn where. That's why I say, like, I don't care what nobody do to me. You know, I'm not in her situation. I'm not, you know, saying that what she did was wrong. What she did was wrong, regardless of them fighting. You know, I just don't have the words, because it's like, then you say her boyfriend, of course her boyfriend's gonna be mad. He sees his girlfriend, someone he loves, laying on the floor, clinging to life, blood everywhere. What in the hell do you think he was supposed to do, boo-boo? Like, I'm confused on that. As I was watching the show on the ID channel, I'm like, what did you expect? But they didn't say any of that on the ID channel. And that's her actual confession that she wrote to the police officers. They didn't say any about the fact that she was trying to call somebody. No, they said her ass ran, pretty much. But nonetheless, someone lost their life. And I just didn't like in the show how they were painting Tina. And regardless of what it was, no one deserves to die. Like, that's just the bottom line to me. No one deserves to die. And I just feel like it shouldn't get to that point. And it reminds me of a case that happened in Bowie of a girl, you know, and the roommate passed away. It shouldn't get to the point that you are physically putting hands on someone. Like, it should never get to that point. And it's sad that we live in a world that does. So I hope you liked today's story. I wanted to share that story because I feel like we deal with a lot of situations where if only we communicated a little bit more, if only someone steps in to speak up on the behalf of someone, you know, like, hey, what can we do to make this work? We have to live together. We have to, you know, see each other. What can we do? And I know in the story it did say that they were going to have like a meeting, but because of Tina's basketball schedule, it never got worked out. And it ended up leading to this, which is extremely sad. Extremely sad. No one deserves to die. And I think back on that year and I'm like, oh my God. Like, you know, I think back on the date of when crimes occur, and I'm like, where was I when this was going on? And it reminds you have to be so blessed that you woke up and got another chance to make things right. And I say that too in the most humblest way, because like, as the new year began, you know, like, one moment can change your life. One thing can ruin everything that you worked so hard for. And I was thinking about that too, because like, my daughter was eating a piece of bacon and she had like some of the fat part of the bacon and she was choking. And my husband, thank God my husband knew the method, you know, of when someone is choking, a child is choking. I could have lost my child at the beginning of this year. So if things don't wake you up to make you want to be a better human being, to make you look at things and overanalyze how you can, you know, walk in your purpose and do better things. Hopefully this year you do. You know, like, there's too many people dying at the hands of others when people just need to learn to keep their fucking hands to themselves and pretty much communicate. I feel like that's the bottom line of it all. Learn to use your words and not your hands all the time, because here we are, two families are ripped apart. One's daughter is in the ground and one daughter is going to be in prison. Like, there's no winning in either situation. So I hope you guys liked today's video. I will see you guys in another video. And as always, stay blessed and stay healthy. Wash your hands and let me know any other stories you'd like me to cover on my channel. Here's to a successful 2021. Bye, guys.